Hi, this is Curt, and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Roundup.
Okay, so second to last, we're going to Washington, and I state of Washington, and this is a good result, at least, of a bad situation. But here, the widow of a Bellingham firefighter, her husband was a retired firefighter, got cancer, and she asserted that the cancer was due to his 33 years in the fire department. He died of, I think, throat cancer or something. We could review the complaint, couldn't see exactly, but basically there was some dispute with the city as to whether her husband was entitled to the benefits. What's interesting there, like in New York, and I'm presuming there's probably a lot of model acts like this, where they look back and they say, okay, once you've left us, you get 5 more years of coverage, and we're not going to cover you forever. And I think this is just a fiscal, they can only afford so much because you pay for the cancer coverage, all right? But they covered him for 5 years after he retired. There was a dispute whether he should have been covered, et cetera. But here they settled for $750,000, which is not an insignificant number. That's a pretty big number, frankly. I was also curious about the medical expenses and everything, who picked those up. There's no discussion of it, but along the way, what was happening, because frankly, if his medical expenses weren't covered, or they didn't have, good enough insurance, which I presume they did as a retiree, but if there were any out of pockets, my God, for cancer coverage, that could exhaust that 750, very easily.
Yeah.
But
I think it's interesting. He retired in retired in 2011. He died in 2018. So obviously that's outside the 5 years.
Right.
And I wonder, we didn't get a lot of information, a lot of background information, but I wonder whether or not his diagnosis fit within the 5 years.
Oh, yeah, because not all sarcomas or cancers are covered under every law. In New York, for example, they have kind of your base coverage, which is established by law, and then says the fire department can cover additional sarcomas if you want to buy this extra package. And yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know whether that would be covered in Washington's law. But that
law,
all,
I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. It's complicated. I mean, it's not simple. There's a lot of different conditions. I've looked at a number of them. Ours is relatively simple here in Rhode Island, but it's pretty complicated with a lot of different things that have to be considered, including, like you suggest, only certain types of cancers are covered, and it's got to be medical exams and yada yada. So
I've advocated, this is so off topic, but I've advocated that we shouldn't just do a set 5 years. We should, right? And normally you've got to be there for a couple of years before you can even vest into the coverage. But to me, if you serve 10 years, you should get 5 years of coverage. Or you serve 15, you should get 6 years. You serve 20, get 7. It should be an increasing in proportion to your actual exposure. To give a 5-year cancer or a 5-year firefighter the same coverage as a 30-year is, your risk is so significant, so much more significant, frankly, that I think we should escalate it. But this is all just it's what the communities can afford, right? It's what the state thinks they can impose the burden on the fire departments who can afford. So these 5-year limitations are pretty common, but many would argue absolutely unfair. If you started at 18, you did your 20 years, it's 38, and you don't get cancer until you're 50, you're out of luck. But it's something better than nothing.